Morning everyone, thank you very much for joining us all, Premier and the Minister. My purpose for being here today, firstly, is to acknowledge the very good members of the Victoria Police who have joined the investigation and the search for this offender. Very important that as the Chief Commissioner that I'm here to support our people. It was also important that I went to the Forward Command Base to get an appreciation of the search and the investigation that goes with it, to make sure our people have every resource that they need. I can assure you from them that they do have every resource they require to locate the person responsible for this horrific homicide. We have over 450 police officers dedicated to this task. Some are involved in search, some are involved in investigation, some are involved in supporting, and many are involved in community reassurance. We're also joined in that operation by Ambulance Victoria, the fire department, the local fire department, and we're really appreciative of their efforts. I can assure the public that there is a very professional and coordinated operation in place here to bring this to a safe conclusion. I would also like to further acknowledge the devastating loss of our two officers and our injured officer. In the last few days, we have met with Neil's wife Lisa to give her every support. I've also spoken to Vadim's auntie, who lives in Melbourne, to offer them every support. I've also met with Mr. Evans, Peter Evans. He's had one operation, he will have another, he will recover, he's in good hands. We are not in a position yet to announce funeral arrangements, but those arrangements are progressing very well and we'll be able to share that with you at some point. My final point is to the local community, to give the locals that assurance that we are not leaving here until this person is in custody. In fact, if that person is listening, it really is time to lay down your firearms and give yourself up so that we can all bring this to a safe conclusion and this community can get back to what they love to do. We have many officers out in the field to keep you safe. Our partners from across other states, if they're not here already, they're on their way to support us. Australian Federal Police are working with us, New South Wales Police, South Australia are on their way, ACT. All of our law enforcement colleagues and partners across Australia are leaning into this with us. They know the impact. It's not just the Victoria Police that are hurting at the moment, it's the entire police family. I'm going to now pass you to the Premier.
Thank you, Chief Commissioner. Along with the Chief Commissioner and the Minister for Police, Anthony Carbines, we're here today at the Wangaratta Police Station, firstly to pay our respects to the men and women of Victoria Police who work out of this station, who live in this beautiful regional city and in the wider district, and pay our respects because they've lost friends, colleagues, loved ones on Tuesday, and I want to acknowledge the team here at Wangaratta. I also want to thank them because they are also, having lost colleagues, working through that grief. They're here keeping the community safe. It's an operational station. They're at work keeping the community safe. So I want to thank the team here at the Wangaratta Police Station and all of the police across the district. It is a close-knit community here in the northeast. It's a beautiful community. Everyone knows everyone, and so whilst there is a lot of grief across the community right now, there's also men and women in blue who are going about their job, continuing to keep the community safe, and for that I give my great thanks as Premier of Victoria. Also too, as Premier, along with the Minister, we've had the opportunity today to lay a floral tribute in honour of the loss of Neil and Vadim, and to thank also them and recognise their dedicated service to this community and to the wider Victorian community as well. As we can see, there has been an outpouring of support and sympathy for the loss of these two strong members of Victoria Police. And the floral tributes here demonstrate that, and the Minister and I had the opportunity on behalf of the Victorian community to add that message of support today. Finally too, we've had the opportunity today to see part of the operational response in action. So I also want to thank all those members of the Victoria Police, but what we also know is the wider emergency services family who are deploying every resource. I will leave it to the Chief to continue to provide those operational updates, but I also add my thanks to people who are working around the clock, putting every resource and effort behind bringing justice in this instance. And then finally too, I will also have the opportunity to be meeting with the Mayor of Alpine Shire, remembering and holding too that there is that community of Porpunka who are living under this heavy shadow, but they don't do this alone. They have the support of me, my government and the wider community as well, and that's certainly the message I'll be conveying when I meet with the Mayor later today. I'll now hand back to the Chief.
Thank you, Premier. You may have some questions. I'll see if I will do my best to answer them.
Commissioner, why was it necessary to arrest Dezi's wife and the 15-year-old? Were they not cooperating with police?
There was search warrants executed last night. People were interviewed totally and specifically in relation to the homicide investigation. So those searches have been completed, the interviews have been conducted, those people have been released. There may or may not be charges that follow, but it would be very inappropriate for me to say anything else at this point.
Do you think Mr. Freeman is being aided by anyone in the community?
We are keeping our options open. We're looking at every avenue. If he is being aided in this escape, whoever is considering aiding him in this escape or avoiding our apprehension, committing a criminal offence. This person does not deserve to be aided in any way. If any person knows him or comes in contact with him, they need to encourage him to hand himself in.
So just on those arrests this morning, can you confirm the relationship of those two people with the suspect?
Yes, that was the suspect's partner and son.
Has Mr. Freeman's phone been active or pinged any towers?
That forms part of our investigation, and I won't go into any detail in terms of that.
Are you thinking of widening the search area because you're bringing in so many cops from other states?
The search area is already very wide. The search area will be determined based on intelligence. And again, I'm not going to give too much away in terms of that. It's quite possible that the suspect at large has access to technology. So it would be very unwise of me, on behalf of my investigation and search team, to share further information. I'm sure you can understand that.
What's the logic behind stretching that Vic emergency alert right out to Ngambie almost?
Because we're not making any assumptions.
What can you tell us about how he was keen to possess firearms or was in possession of firearms without an active firearm permit?
That will form part of the investigation, and of course that forms an offence, which also relates to the search warrants last night in relation to how someone can be unlawfully in possession of firearms.
Can you provide any clarity about whether or not he was using a homemade rifle?
I can't confirm that at the moment. We haven't seized what we believe that the weapons involved are. That's why we believe he is and remains armed and dangerous.
Is there any information that his family's been in touch with
We are examining all lines of inquiry, and again that forms part of the investigation, which I'm not willing to share details of.
Just on the search area though, can you tell us about how today's weather is impacting the search?
The weather certainly doesn't help, but our people are very used to working in inclement conditions. Doesn't help us, and I'm sure it doesn't help the person we're looking for.
The AFP have confirmed that they're joining the search operation. What will they be bringing?
Could you repeat that? I didn't get the first part.
The AFP have confirmed that they're joining the search operation. What are you hoping they'll bring to it?
Well, they're helping us contain the area, keep the area safe. You know, we've got a lot of people going around a lot of tasks, whether it's the investigation, search. So the AFP special operators will make sure that everyone else involved in this operation are kept safe, but they're also deployable to certain situations should the need arise.
Chief Commissioner, just on Freeman's firearm licence, so had it been removed and then reinstated, and if so, why and how did it get?
My understanding is that it had been revoked, but I'm very happy to make sure that we give you clarity on that before you go to print or whatever you do.
Chief Commissioner, just one more on the firearms licence. Just following up from what you said earlier, you said that formed part of the search warrant last night, that issue. Are you able to speak to whether Mr. Freeman had transferred ownership of his firearms to his wife?
I can't go into any detail on that. I'd love to, but I can't, mainly because it forms part of the investigation and could form part of a prosecution if that does occur.
Chief Commissioner, Freeman has a pretty long history of expressing some pretty radical political beliefs. He's made some pretty disturbing comments about dead police officers in the past. Are police any closer to determining whether or not this will be classified as a suspected terror attack?
That's not something we're currently exploring, but we will as part of the prosecution. So when we apprehend this person, all avenues and all charges will be explored.
Is Freeman on the radar of counter-terrorism police as well as other agencies?
I'm not going into that at the moment, but thank you for the question.
Just on the big emergency alerts again, it seems to be, has there been a transition away from text messages to the alerts, the yellow alert for Port Punker and then that wider blue alert for the larger region?
Look, I can't tell you the specific answer to that. Again, it's something that I'm quite happy to go away and get some clarification on.
Chief Commissioner, just as in relation to how the preparation was for the warrant was served, did local police request help from special officers in Melbourne, and was that help then rejected?
What I can tell you is that that was considered, but it wasn't requested. So when they prepare for a search warrant, they'll do a risk assessment. They will then decide what level of risk is attached to that and what resources are required to support that. They did not consider a request to the Special Operations Group necessary, so what follows is there was no request, therefore there was no declining of the request.
Right. And was there any attempt to contact the suspect before the warrant was served to see if he would turn himself in to the police station?
Yes, I know what you're asking there. I don't believe so.
Commissioner, in terms of the locals, the local pub in town is due to open this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Is it safe for the locals to be out and about at the moment?
We're really conscious that people need to go about their lives. We've been in discussion with those owners. I think we support the opening, but we'll be very much in the environment to make sure people are kept safe. So our message to people is, if you need to go about your business, go about your business, stay safe, be vigilant, and we are there to support you. But if you see anything that you believe is suspicious or could be this person, please ring 000.
Chief Commissioner, just on the warrant again, sorry. Was it categorised as a level 1 or 2 warrant, and what do those threat levels?
Look, I don't think we need to go into those details.
Last night there were the police were heard to be shouting, "Come out with nothing in your hands." Was there a concern that inside this other address with Dezi's wife that there may be firearms as well?
Well, we will always assume that. So we have to follow protocol in terms of that. So that's the safest way to approach that, and we would never assume that there were not firearms in that address.
Have police been receiving much credible intel from the local community as to his whereabouts?
The locals have been fantastic. There are certain lines of inquiry that are coming in from the public that are being assessed. They're all helpful, so we encourage members of the public to tell us everything they think they need to tell us.
Last questions, thank you.
Have there been any sightings from members of the public or police?
There have been alleged sightings which we're exploring. We can't confirm that they are of him, but you know, if you think you see him, let us know. We'll explore it.
Does police think they've seen him?
Can I leave it at that?
For those two fallen officers, has there been an offer of a state funeral?
That's a matter for the Premier. Premier, would you like to address that? So thank you. That I don't think I can answer any more of your questions in any detail. So thank you.
Yesterday, along with the Minister and the Chief Commissioner, we met and sat with Neil's partner Lisa, and as part of that conversation we discussed funeral arrangements and the outcome of that conversation, remembering these are deeply personal decisions that are made by families that are grieving. The state will be providing every support to Victoria Police to support the families in the organisation of the funeral arrangements, recognising that these will be very difficult days for the family and also the many members of Victoria Police who want to come and show and pay their respects, their final respects to their fallen colleagues.
Premier, will the resources on the weekend be stretched with these dual protests and then this massive search which would go 400 plus officers?
Yeah. So again, I'll leave the Chief Commissioner to respond to the operational decisions around the deployment of resources, both here in the northeast, responding to activity in the city on the weekend, but also too, as Victoria Police across the state are continuing to go about their work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, keeping our community safe. But I will say this on the proposed marches that are being promoted around the country this weekend, that as Premier of Victoria, I am proud that we are a state and a place where people from a whole range of different backgrounds are choosing here to come and live, to work, to raise their family. And I say this to every single Victorian, that every Victorian matters, every Victorian belongs, and every Victorian is equal.
Premier, there are reports that people who organise these marches are sympathetic to far-right ideology, anti-government ideology. Are you concerned they've been motivated or spurred on to take more action after Tuesday's shootings?
Oh, look, I'm not going to speculate in any way that would be unhelpful to the operations of Victoria Police. I'm focused. Every ounce of the work we are focused on as a government is supporting the work of Victoria Police, both in the operational activity that's going on here in the northeast, but as I've said already a couple of times today and over the course of the week, let's remember there are men and women of the Victoria Police Force who are carrying grief at the loss of loved ones and colleagues, who are putting on that uniform again each and every day and are going out to work to keep our community safe. And that is who I am focused on and who I will remain focused on as this operation continues.
Can you give us a bit more detail on what the federal resources are that you've asked for?
Well, in terms of the arrangements with interjurisdictional police forces, that would be something for the Chief Commissioner to respond to where appropriate. These are matters that are organised between the police forces. But I did have the opportunity this morning when I was with the Prime Minister in Ballarat to thank him for the support of the Federal Police, but also too, what I have received as Premier is a significant number of messages of support from our colleagues around the nation. People across the nation are standing with the men and women who work here out of Victoria Police's Wangaratta Station. People around the nation are putting their arms around the community of Paul-Punker in this very difficult time, and being here today with the Minister to lay a floral tribute on behalf of the Victorian community is also one small way that we can demonstrate that we also put our arms around the community here and the broader Victoria Police family.
Thank you, Premier. Can I just step in, but suggest that I address your original question, and that's the last question we have?
Of course.
So your question is an important one, and I would like to say here and now that the number one priority for the Victoria Police is the hunt for this murderer. And we're pouring in over 450 resource to that, and every other resource we have. We're also conscious that the Victoria Police have many other demands, and that includes the protest activity this weekend. Our mission there will be to deploy a large resource also to ensure that those people that are out protesting peacefully are kept safe. So that too is a priority, and we will resource it, and we will resource the other demands. But I want to go back to my original point. The number one priority for the Victoria Police is to find the person who murdered our officers. Thank you.